For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Thabi Madiba, researcher and analyst. Professor Raymond Suttner joins me to discuss on whom do we rely for our democratic future. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
Do you think South Africans must rely on political parties to safeguard the country's democratic future?
The argument of my article is that in the normal course of events, we would believe that politics, public national politics, should be primarily related to the activities of political parties. But that's not the only part of our political history. We also have a history of popular involvement, of ordinary people being involved. And from 1990, 1994, there was a tendency for that type of politics to be sidelined and to see, in the case of the ANC, to see the ANC leadership as doing everything and the membership being relatively passive. So I don't think that it is desirable. In general, I support popular power. So in general, I do believe that we must have involvement of ordinary people in politics, not just as members of political parties, but as professionals, as community members, a range of other things where they've got concerns, and especially if they believe that the parties are not representing them properly, which has been the case with the ANC for a few years now, especially during the Zuma period.
But political parties do hold much powers to our democratic future, as one can say that looking back when former President Jacob Zuma was told to resign, but then he still hung on power. And the same thing happened in the Northwest with its Premier, Supramahumapelo. So what do you think can be done to remind political parties that even citizens' point of view do matters?
Well, the way in which citizens show their power is by bypassing political parties. If the political parties are doing what they don't want done, well then the best way of dealing with it is to take things in your own hands, to go in the streets, to form community organizations like you do have Abahlali Basenjundolo, which is a homeless people's movement. Equal education is concerned with education rights of people in the schools. And they've had to take these actions because the political parties in government are not attending to the needs that they have. So my general feeling is, what I said in the article is that we have seen manifestations of the public taking responsibility where the political parties have not done so. And in this situation, the weakness has been that there have been marches or meetings or demonstrations, then they've gone home and they've not been connected with one another after that. You have to build organization. Now that is something that we understood when apartheid was around, but people are not building organization. The NCDA and them may be building organization for elections, but people in the communities are not building their own power in a sustained, organized, methodical way.
And can you tell us why do you say that during 1994 many people did not have questions about their democratic future because they were optimistic about what lay ahead?
Well, you know, it's 24 years now, and the mood is very different now because everyone was looking forward, or let's say some people were looking backwards, but and wanted to go back to apartheid. But a lot of people were looking forward. They also had confidence in the new leadership because of the prestige of Mandela and because of the record that the ANC then had of sacrifice. not everyone sacrificed, but there was a lot of people knew leaders, but also brothers, sisters, cousins, neighbors who had been involved in the struggle and who had sacrificed a lot for this. And those were the sort of people that they felt they could trust with their future. So there was a sense of trust, and that trust has now broken down. So the reason why we had that feeling was euphoria, but there was also a certain amount of confidence in the future because of the type of organization that the ANC then was and the leadership it had. And
lastly, talking about the political issues that are happening now, like the land and the sanitation that Ramaphosa launched yesterday, don't you think maybe this is just campaigning for the general elections, 2019 elections?
Well, you know, it's difficult to say because on the one hand, if he doesn't attend to this, the ANC will lose votes. But some instincts and some senses, some of his senses are with the poor. And he must be aware that it's shameful that people don't have toilets after so long. But it's also, I think, shameful that the program that he proposes will only be completed in 2030, by which time he may not even be around here. What's that, 24 years ahead? Maybe Cyril Ramaphosa is, he's now about 60 or something, 80. So it's possible, you know, we don't know. I wish him long life, but maybe he won't be here. But no, it's not campaigning sensibly if you only offer to complete it in 2030. You need to speed it up, because 2030 from 1994 is 43 years, almost 40, it's about 36 years, something like that. It's a long time.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about whom do we rely for our democratic future.